Welcome to Job Tales, the show where we uncover the fascinating stories behind unique careers. Today we step into the world of music and leadership with Antoine Marguier, orchestra conductor and professor at the University of Music in Geneva. Antoine, welcome to Job Tales. As a conductor, you master the art of music and you know how to lead musicians. Please tell us what your profession entails.
It's a multiple job, but it's all about music. I'm an orchestra conductor, probably less than what I was doing before as a conductor. I mean, before the pandemic, I was doing a lot, traveling a lot,
Okay.
and now I reduced it because I understood many things. But I'm still a conductor. For instance, with my orchestra here in Geneva, Orchestre des Nations. But also I also do some guest conducting. Sometimes I go somewhere else to conduct orchestras as a guest conductor,
Okay.
but I'm also a professor at the Haute École de Musique de Genève, which is let's say, the University of Music,
Uh-huh.
an important school because we have students from everywhere in the world, selected students, professional students, and we have also teachers coming from everywhere. So I'm
Okay.
very honored
Fantastic.
and happy to teach and to share. That's something I really love because I learn so much.
Sharing your passion and your
Yes,
knowledge about music, right?
yes. I play sometimes my clarinet. At the beginning, I was a clarinet player.
Mm.
After the pandemic, I decided to play a bit to start again, and I do some chamber music, some concerts, and I'm very happy with this.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's start with the conducting work. So you say you're an orchestra conductor. Of course, you need to study a lot and learn a lot about music before getting there. So can you tell me what was your path, academic path and professional path that took you to there?
Well, before talking maybe about the academic, I have to say that I come from a very small village where in the mountains where there were no classical music. At the time, I'm 55, so at the time there was no classical music, no orchestras, not even radios,
Oh,
just
wow.
two
Okay.
television channels. So I'm coming
Yeah.
from very far away.
All
But
right.
there was the band, the orchestra band, the wind band of the village that helped me very much because my father decided when I was 6 and my brother 8 to bring us to the music lessons of this band. It was all done by Benevol, I mean,
Uh-huh. Volunteer.
volunteers, and it put me in the music field from this moment. And then they discovered that I had some skills, some natural skills with music. It's true that I understood music quite easily and quite immediately,
Hmm.
and then I went to the conservatory at the most important city of the area.
Hmm.
And then, because I was so passionate, University of Musicology, and then conservatory in France, in Lyon. There were two, so it was difficult to have a position in these two conservatories. One in Paris, one in Lyon. I was in Lyon,
Yes.
and then quite quickly I played always under selection in the European Union Youth Orchestra, which was just unbelievably great because musicians were selected among all Europe,
Hmm.
and so that was fantastic. We played in the best auditoriums with the best conductors, with the best soloists. We had the best hotels. We were not paid; we were volunteers, and but there was such an energy, such a level that this is something I never forgot.
And
Um,
were you still a student back then, or were you
I
already?
was still a student, but this period, I spent 4 years in this orchestra. It was sessions, one session in the summer, one session in spring. During this time, I got a job here in Geneva in the Orchestre de la Suisse Romande. I was quite
Mhm.
young. I was 22, which is very young. So I continued for 2 years in the youth orchestra because I was addicted by the energy and the generosity of all these people and the way the wish to share that I didn't find back in the Orchestre de la Suisse Romande. But I had to live. I had to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So I had to find a job, and it was a great job, by the way, in Orchestre de la
Mhm.
Suisse Romande. And because in this European thing, I played in many countries with the best conductors, including Claudio Abbado. Claudio Abbado
Mhm.
was the guy who succeeded to Karajan in Berlin, and he was just the big. I mean, the best conductor ever.
Fantastic.
And
So a
I
great
was
experience.
I
Yeah.
was captivated by this guy. I said, well, I would like to try once to conduct. So after having been hired by Orchestre Suisse Romande, I decided to study orchestra conducting, and it was great for me because I was a clarinet player in the orchestra, and from
Mm.
my chair I could observe a lot of conductors because
Ah, yeah.
we had a lot of opera, symphony, guest conductors, so I could learn a lot from these people. That was my path,
Okay.
basically. Yes.
Fantastic. It seems that there's a lot of international outreach and exposure, which is very enriching, and which I can imagine it becomes addictive. Now, you were playing an instrument before you became an orchestra conductor. Is that the way that most orchestra conductors start?
Yeah, very simply, when you don't know how to conduct, you have to find an orchestra who would be happy to with you.
Hmm.
And so there was this orchestra around Geneva in the Pays de Gex.
Hmm.
I'm sure your people, your auditors know the Pays de Gex. And there was this youth string orchestra. And
Hmm.
I've heard that they were looking for a conductor. So I applied and they hired me. It was not such a level, when I arrived there, there were like the first rehearsal, there were 6 or 7 musicians, young musicians, completely unexperienced. But of course, because they were young, they were very motivated. And I was a professional and I knew how to do it. So after a couple of years, they were about 25. So we did a great job there.
Hmm.
And this was my experimentation, my school in a way, my workshop, if I may
Yeah.
say so.
Yeah.
And I started with this. So, and I was paid a bit. So it was the beginning of my professional orchestra conductor career.
Yeah. And you said that you did study orchestra conducting before getting this job.
Yes, of course. I was lucky enough to meet some great conductors who invited me. I mean, always under selection, but I spent a full summer sometimes in the Aspen Music Festival and School, Aspen, Colorado.
Hmm.
I went in Great Britain. I could do that during my vacations because I was
Hmm.
100% hired in the Orchestre Suisse Romande. So, and I didn't have time to be a student in Paris or whatever. So I did what I could when I had time.
Hmm.
So I
Okay.
did this campus with great teachers, and this is where I learned. I had a private teacher also in Paris who liked my motivation and my skills. So it was that are some people who helped me a lot, and that are my mentors.
So, what would you say it would be the average time, let's say, from the moment you decide to become an orchestra conductor to when you become one? How many years, between studies, instrumental studies, and then orchestra conducting, and then getting your first job?
I would say 5 years.
5 years.
5 years,
Okay.
yes, between 5 and 10 years.
Fantastic.
Difficult to be precise, because first of all, when you ask me when I decided to be a conductor, I didn't really decide it. I
It
put
came
my
to you.
feet in this track, and I went ahead. And
Yeah.
suddenly, I was conducting some concerts and more important concerts. And there was a time when I decided to do music. That's for sure.
Mm.
But the career is full of surprises
Surprises,
and
yeah. And turns.
yes, and opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all about that.
You said that you could observe a lot while you were playing the clarinet in the orchestra. You were observing the conductors. What were you observing? What was your main takeaway?
Well, of course, the way they rehearsed, because people don't really know. That's also a myth, maybe an anti-myth. But
A myth. Yeah, let's talk about myths.
yes, because it's like an iceberg. You see the point of the iceberg, so you see the concert.
Yeah.
Behind that, you have a lot of rehearsals. I mean, it depends on which orchestra, which program.
Yeah.
But in Swiss Romand, for example, we had 4, 5 rehearsals before each concert, or 10 or 12 rehearsals before every opera show, every opera
Oh, wow.
production. So here you have a lot of opportunity to observe how they are efficient. That's about efficiency. When you are in front of an orchestra, 1 minute is extremely precious
I see. Okay.
because it's a reunion of people at the same time. and the schedule is very sharp. We
Mm.
start at 10 in the morning till 1 p.m. with a break, 10 minutes break inside. So you have to be very efficient if you want to do it as quick as possible, because sometimes it's great to let musician go maybe half an hour before the end, because the last half hour sometimes doesn't serve so much, because people are tired, people are deconcentrated,
Mm.
defocused. So that's the thing I have learned the most, and also I have learned what not to do,
Okay.
because with the experienced colleagues around me, I could hear some reactions and criticism about conductors saying, "Oh, this one is not precise enough. Why this one doesn't respect the score, the text, etc." So it was also a way to learn what you shouldn't do.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
You mentioned precision. What can you define precision for you? Like, what does it mean when a conductor is precise?
Well, in an orchestra, in a big symphony orchestra, when you have 80 musicians, for instance,
Mm.
extreme distance between some musicians can be very important. I would say maybe 20 meters between the timpani and the first violin or something, it's very far away.
Yes.
And the conductor here is to also not only to inspire an interpretation, etc., emotional, etc., but also to make people, to help people play together. So he gives signs. Here is the first beat, here is the second beat, etc. Otherwise, with the acoustic issues, it's very difficult, because sound takes time to go from the timpani to the first violin.
Mm.
So people are not. It's very difficult to play together without a conductor, and the conductor has to be very precise, because if he's not precise, then he has more chances to disturb than to help. The first quality of a conductor is to not disturb.
Yeah, okay.
You
Yeah,
see, so
I can see.
precision, and it's milliseconds, because the music, the tempo is unique. So everyone has to be on the same tempo, and if the conductor is a bit approximate in this gesture, then it doesn't work. And if the orchestra doesn't play completely together, then it doesn't sound good, because it's not synchronized.
All
You
right.
see, so yeah, precision is extremely important.
Amazing. We were talking about myths. Do you have another myth that you want to share with us about being a conductor? What a conductor is not?
He's not a myth himself.
Mm.
Because yeah, there is this myth of the conductor with long hairs and gray hairs, like a professor, who make noise with the stick on this on his stand to have some silence, like tack 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 tack, please. It's not that. It's not that, and it's not. Being on a podium is great, because it's the idea of being on a podium is that everyone can see you.
Mhm.
People at the deepest stage can see you. It's
Yeah.
not about saying I'm a superior. you
Hmm.
know to my opinion, we are all a team, and I'm a chef de
To
chantier.
guide. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I'm here to help, and I'm here to inspire, because
Yeah.
we need someone.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise,
it's not I'm God and you are no. The conductor himself or herself is not a myth.
what have are there any compromises you need to be prepared to make for the job of a conductor?
Yes, of course, because especially when you are a young conductor, so you are guest conducting, or not even, you are conducting the orchestra of which you are the artistic director, and
Mm.
then you have a Brahms symphony to conduct, which means a very standard piece of the orchestra, the repertoire,
Mhm.
and you are in front of musicians who have been playing this symphony maybe 20 times, maybe I exaggerate, but let's say 15 times, and it's the first time for you.
Right.
So they have an experience that you don't have.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you are here to make it sound together, to make it sound with a real interpretation, and you are in charge of it. But they know, I mean, inside their mind, they know better than you. So that's a compromise, because you have to let them propose, but not too much, because you are here also to impose. And if you let someone
Hmm.
propose his own idea of the of a movement or something, and another one musician would propose something different because he has another idea, then you have a bit to fight. It's not a fight, it's a
Mm.
resistance.
Negotiate.
Yes, negotiate, but you cannot come as a young conductor and say no. You can, but
Yeah.
it's a bit dangerous because when you arrive in front of an orchestra that you don't know, you have no idea how they behave, how they
Mm.
react, who they are, because an orchestra is like a person.
Right.
And before meeting the person, you don't know. So you meet the person at the moment of you start working with them. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work,
Mm.
and we have to do with this.
Is there a time outside of, let's say, of the playing and of the work time that you spend with the orchestra members, like to get to know them, for example, and to bond with them?
Yes, I'm being very honest with my answers, of course.
Yeah.
We are not here to lie, but there was a time I wanted to be friend with them because as a former orchestra musician, they were more colleagues, if I may say so, because I knew everything about their job,
Yeah.
being a former like them. But since some couple of years, at the let's say at the break time during the rehearsal, I go in my room, green room, and I don't move, and I close the door, and I don't want to talk with them
Okay.
because I want to keep my my individuality and my independence because you don't know, you never know. Or I mean, I'm still talking about guest conducting because this is what I've done the most. But
Hmm.
you don't know the influences there are in the orchestra. In an orchestra, an orchestra is a mini society with networks, with couples, with divorced people, with a lot of because an orchestra has very special schedules, and they are not very included with the main society, so they live a bit into another sea.
In their own world.
And
Yeah.
yes, normal. So you have a lot of stories, and you don't know who is in link with who,
Okay.
and you don't want to say a bad word because it's risky, because sometimes we in a discussion, and then and to put some disagreements into the orchestra. So the best way, to my opinion, is to stay far away, to keep a distance.
Mm.
Maybe after the concert, they invite you for a drink or something. You can go because you are happy. They are happy with you. You are happy with them. But I'm being very careful with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Always the yeah, I see. I understand. Is there any lesson you learned over the years that you can share today that others can benefit from?
Ah, honestly, still honestly, the modesty. Because when you are young, and when you are young and you have some success, more success than others, the risk, the danger, and I see that with my students today, is that you become arrogant.
Mm.
Because you don't have conscience and you don't have maybe the education that I mean it can be easy to become arrogant and to think that you are more something than the others because you are more talented, because you succeed with the competitions that people don't do it, etc. And it's this is something I learned. So I put I had this problem personally, and this is very bad. This is very
Mm.
bad, and I try to teach that now. I say you can be arrogant, not arrogant, but you can assume when you are on the podium, on when you are on stage, because you are here. So you don't need to pretend you are here, and you do the job, and you have to exhibit your
Mm.
skills and what you are able to do. And people are here; they wait for you from you to show that. But it's not arrogant. It's not forget ourselves and our skills.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
modesty has nothing to do here. But in the life, at the coffee machine, during talks, etc., we shouldn't be arrogant. And I
mm.
think I was, and I think a lot of people are during a period of the life. And it's not good. It's not good because it doesn't bring positive things. So that's
Mm.
a lesson.
Oh, cohesion as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's a lesson. Okay, cool.
that's a
And
lesson.
talking about attitude and then also skills, what would you say are the most important skills to have when you're a conductor? I'm
Ah,
talking soft skills, of course, maybe some hard skills if you want to mention. There are some obvious ones, but yeah, please go ahead.
you have to have a quick mind because it's a live work. with a team. I mean, you can be the boss of a company. You have a team, you are the boss, but you don't have everyone in front of you at the same time.
Mm.
You see, some people compare the job of a conductor and the job of a pilot,
Mm.
a plane pilot, because you have to think about a lot of things at the same time, and you have to anticipate, and sometimes you have to make decisions very quickly,
I see.
and they wait for you for that. And so I think the quick, the rapidity of the mind is very important. Also, the diplomacy, to be able to understand people and to let them express themselves, but too much, not too much. The idea of negotiation
Yeah.
that I talked before. Of course, you have to feel the music. Of
Mm.
course, you cannot go on a podium without having a real love for music and for emotion through music. So that are some skills, that basic skills that you have to and also charisma, which doesn't mean arrogance, but charisma, which means, when I arrived in Swiss Romande, of course, I met a lot of experienced musicians, because there were people who had a lot of years of experience,
Mm.
and this is not a myth. They were able to detect if a conductor will be good or not before he started, just
Oh,
just at the moment where the conductor arrived on stage,
okay.
you see, and they say this one will be great,
Oh,
and
wow.
this one will no. It's about the charisma. So this is
Mm-hmm.
not really something you can explain,
Mm.
but you still have to exist when you are on a podium. I
Mm.
don't mean other people exist, but it's like being attractive.
Mm. Have a
Otherwise, people will
present. Mm.
present. Otherwise, people won't follow you so much. They won't give you some credibility. So, and of course, the charisma will come more and more with the age, because then you get gray hairs and people respect you more when you are older, if you are good. I mean, if you are very professional. But charisma is a skill, a natural skill, that is very important, I think.
Are there many opportunities as a conductor? Meaning, is the job available out there, or is it very limited? Like a young man or woman who wish to be conductors, how many chances do they stand?
Very few, because there are much more conductors than orchestra conductor positions,
Hmm.
much more. And of course, a lot of people don't find their place, and get probably frustrated, because it's an addiction. I think
Uh-huh.
it's an addiction. As
Okay.
soon as you put your feet on a podium, it's very strange the first times. You don't feel the time, you don't feel the space. It's very strange. It's like you become a bit blind and deaf,
Wow.
and you have to get used with it. But yes, but it, for sure, it gets you addicted from the
Mhm.
very first minute, like a cigarette. You smoke two smokes, and then you
Yeah, you must have more.
sorry.
You must have more.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for people who don't make it, in a way, because you cannot go at the shop and buy an orchestra like you buy a flute or a bassoon,
Hmm.
and practice in Sunday afternoon. It's like you cannot buy an orchestra, so, which is your instrument, in a way, when
Yeah.
you're a conductor, because a conductor without orchestra doesn't make any sound. And this is something we should never forget. So, but I never forget that. But yeah, it's difficult to do a career, especially today, because there are more and more conductors and less orchestras, if I may say so. With the crisis,
Mm.
culture is not always the best, the more supported field by the governments. So yeah, but well, it's always possible to do something. If you are courageous, you can make your own orchestra.
Hmm.
The
Become
audience like it.
entrepreneur even.
Yeah, yeah. You can all.
Yeah.
You cannot think that things will come to you
Yeah.
like from the sky. It's impossible. You have
Yes.
to work also on your career.
Antoine, it's been really great. Thank you for your honest and open discussion and conversation.
With
And
pleasure, Laura.
I'm sure it's inspired many young listeners. And I wish you all the best for the rest of your career.
I thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. It was a great pleasure for me.
And that was Antoine Marguier, orchestra conductor. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to check out more on Job Tales. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Got an idea for a guest? Then reach out to me at jobtalespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in and see you next week for another inspiring career story on Job Tales.